Welcome back. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know that we've been at the forefront of the campaign to stop the desecration of our landscapes and the destruction of our communities by wind and solar developments. When we began this journey more than 2 years ago, it looked like a hopeless fight. Individual communities up and down the country, each fighting their own lonely battle, outfunded and outgunned by the renewable energy corporations. Well, there's a long way to go, but I'm pleased to report that the tide is turning. The battle to save the ancient tropical forest at Chilumban Hill has been won thanks to the perseverance of some very courageous local people. And communities across the country are getting organised with rallies, social media campaigns to go make their voice heard. Last week I received an email from Katie McCallum from Kilkevin in Queensland, one of the founders of the Let's Rethink Renewables campaign. The campaign began in response to the devastation that would have been caused or would be caused by the Barumba pumped hydro scheme with the associated HV transmission lines and the Wollonga solar complex and the Forest wind turbine complex. Katie writes, these projects have snuck through approval processes and the Queensland government has done its best to cloak the truth. An example is the ridiculous propaganda campaign currently being run by Queensland Hydro. There is no mention of the word pumped hydro in the ads, nor an explanation of what pumped actually means. Most people think that there is a torrent of water running down the Great Dividing Range into the Mary Valley and it simply flows through some turbines and produces electricity. This could not be further from the truth. The Gympie region will transition to a large-scale industrial estate simply to generate enough electricity to pump the water up through 3 giant tunnels each day so that we have electricity at night time, and that's if you believe the concept would even work. Well, Katie and her friends in the community weren't prepared to sit back and just let this happen. They started raising money for an advertising campaign on billboards, radio and TV. They sought small donations from farmers, property owners, tree change retirees and local townspeople. Katie even put a fundraising tin on the front counter of her shop in Kilkevin. Well, I'm pleased to say the advertising campaign has begun, and Katie joins me now from Kilkevin, along with fellow campaigner Jim Wilmot. Well, welcome to you both and congratulations. Tell me, first of all, Katie, how much money did you raise?
So, Nick, we think it was nearly $47,000 in total, and there was also a small amount that was contributed as well from Property Rights Australia. So it was a substantial amount, especially considering it came out of the pockets of hard-working Queenslanders who simply want to protect the region that they live in.
Yeah, well, there's no way we can fight these people dollar for dollar, is there, Jim? I mean, and we are looking to people, ordinary people with not a lot of money in their pockets to give generously to support this kind of campaign. Jim, is this about as far as you can go, or do you think you can take this further?
Nick, it can go a lot further than it is now. We're as far as networking and getting people together, like, we're really at ground zero with the Let's Rethink Renewable campaign. And it's about wrestling back the narrative that the governments and the corporations have got and are forcing on us. I guess through all their, like I said before, there's heaps of propaganda out there. And I guess we're fighting back and try and wrestle back the narrative in what is a bit of a reality check for people that might only hear a certain type of narrative. We're here to say what's really going on throughout the Wide Bay, Gympie district, but throughout the eastern seaboard of Australia when it comes to the rollout of these renewables.
Katie, those pictures I think people can see on their screens, or just been watching on their screens, were from the billboard, I think on the Bruce Highway. Where exactly is it?
Billboard is on the Bruce Highway heading south into Gympie Township, right there on the edge of the highway as you go past the Gympie Sports Club, or what we just all call the golf course. So that's our main billboard, and then we also managed to secure a digital billboard in the CBD of Gympie, which everybody can see when they stop at the lights outside Kentucky Fried Chicken. And then we also got another one down near Noosa on the Bruce Highway. So for everybody heading northbound up the coast on the goat track, which is called the Bruce Highway, they get to see that pillar about the wildlife habitat being lost. So the koala hanging onto the tree there. So we've got some prime positions, which is great for us. Yeah.
Well, there's a special relevance to me, at least, putting it on the Bruce Highway, because the Bruce Highway is without doubt the worst major highway in the country. It's plagued by accidents, it's plagued by delays, it costs businesses money. What should take a day to reach Brisbane takes a day and a half and 2 days. The government has really neglected fixing up the Bruce Highway, but Jim, it seems to me they've got their priorities wrong. They're willing to put a lot of money into Barumba pipe pump hydro and things like the copper string connection to Mount Isa, but surely the first priority should be putting that where it can make most difference to Queenslanders and save Queensland lives.
Oh, most definitely, Nick. We see it even out where I am in the South Burnett area. Like, I've got to wait 8 weeks to get in and see a doctor here, and I end up having to travel an hour and a half to see a doctor. A lot of our road infrastructure and social and health services are well below par to what many people in the city experience, and now we're being asked to carry the load of this renewable rollout, and you can see that the government has got its priorities wrong, where they're focusing on technology that it's not just me. A lot of the experts are saying that's not going to deliver us our baseload power. It's going to be intermittent power, and it's not even going to work. So, but the communities are crying out for some basic infrastructure, and when they see these big projects like pumped hydro, where they're spending at least 14 billion plus, another billion in transmission, and then they look around and their roads are in ruin and their health services have gone to the pack, there's definitely a correction that's needed with this government approach.
Katie, the renewable energy industry and its mouthpiece, a website called Renew Economy, they are convinced that this whole campaign against renewable infrastructure in the bush is cooked up by climate change denialists, encouraged by people like me in my column in The Australian. Are they right?
Absolutely, they are not right. In fact, they are so far from the mark. They really need to leave the city and come out here to the areas that they want to sacrifice for their green energy and have a look and see what's happening, what's being sacrificed. And as you know, Nick, you've travelled up north. You've seen where the turbines are going on the Great Dividing Range. Stephen Nowakowski is a good mate of Jim and mine. We've been working together. We are absolutely stunned at the ignorance that is coming from people down in offices in Canberra, in Sydney, in Melbourne, that they will not come out here and see what is happening. I mean, we've got a giant solar complex sitting just outside of Kilkevin, and they bulldozed magnificent giant gum trees to put that in. There wasn't a single person there protesting against it. Nor was there anybody concerned about the fact that that was home to much Australian wildlife, including koalas, and it was just obliterated to be replaced by giant black panels, which have since been absolutely destroyed by a hailstorm. And now we see the temperature around that the ambient air temperature around that paddock, just anecdotal evidence shows that it's about 6 degrees hotter. So I thank God for people like you, Nick, and people like our friend Stephen Nowakowski for raising this issue so that people in the city can see what's happening, because there won't be anything left out here for the koalas and the rest of the endangered Australian wildlife to live in soon, because they're going to industrialise the entire east coast of this country to meet their 100% renewable energy targets. So they really need to get a dose of reality and come out here. I'll take them around personally and show them where it's all going to be put in. I'm sure they'll be shocked.
Well, we all love democracy, and you've got an election coming up there in Queensland, a chance for people to have their say about this Labor government and their policy on renewables. Jim, I just wonder whether you think that the LNP opposition has been strong enough on this topic.
At a state level, no, they haven't. They've kind of dodged around it. As you know, they've signed up for the Labor's emissions targets. They didn't really support the renewable targets, but they're not coming out and saying that they're against the renewable developments that are scarring the landscape all over Queensland. What they are saying is that, they try and focus on how a lot of our coal-fired power stations are not, their upkeep isn't up to standard, and that's why they're becoming more unreliable. But there's a big policy gap there, and people have been crying out in rural and regional Australia. A lot of Conservatives are saying, what is your position on industrial renewables, and is that going to be part of the mix going forward if Chris O'Fooley and his government wins at the next election? And we're just not hearing nothing. We're just hearing a bit of side chatter, and where we really want some good policy content, because we don't want to see Labor, well, obviously I want to see Labor remove, but we want to see a clear difference with the incoming government that looks at maybe keeping coal longer, and also, let's go nuclear. And we know Chris O'Fooley and his government's come out and said that they haven't supported the federal coalition's proposal for a nuclear, which is very disappointing in a lot of areas throughout rural and regional Queensland.
Katie, finally, look, the Labor government federally would have you believe that nobody wants to live anywhere near a nuclear power station. But let me ask you this question. If you had a choice between living next door to wind turbines and solar panels or a modern, clean, efficient, safe nuclear power station, which would you choose?
Hands down, I would choose the nuclear power plant, absolutely. And I can tell you that all the people I speak to at a grassroots level around here, the majority of them feel the same way. And generally, when you speak to the people who say, definitely not, I don't want another Chernobyl, once you speak to them and you start to draw their attention to the truth and the reality of where nuclear is today, they generally change their mind. And they actually comment that they had no idea that it had changed since the 1960s. So we need to get more information out to the regional areas. We need to get it out to more people in general about nuclear energy. You're doing a fantastic job. We just need to get it out even more.
And let's see if we can shake a bit more money into that tin for you. If people want to donate to this campaign, where do they come to?
Yes, absolutely. We definitely need some more money to keep these billboards running. Look, Jim, and my dream is that this Let's Rethink Renewable campaign will be visible on highways from the tip of the Cape all the way down to the bottom of Tasmania. But we can only do that with generous donations. So if people could visit the Let's Rethink Renewables website, and I'm hoping that maybe we could drop a link in somewhere on your webpage for that. There's details there how to donate, and we are willing to give this campaign's artwork to any other action group around Australia for free. We've paid the setup fees now. It's for the rest of Australia to use. If we can get this one message, let's rethink industrial-sized renewables out to everybody, hopefully we can wake everybody up to the devastation that's coming our way.
Let's make it happen. Jim, Katie, thanks very much for joining us on Reality Bites.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.